Hey there. So this is a rather unusual Monday motivation because I want to talk about something that recently happened to me to spread some awareness about the warning signs of a blood clot. So just as a reminder, I am not a medical practitioner. This is not medical advice. If you have anything that worries you about your health, it's best that you speak to a clinician. But I'll tell you my personal experience. So many years ago, about 13 years ago, I had a knee surgery. And a few days after, I had a lot of pain and swelling in the back of the knee and pain, like incredible pain in my calf. Now, luckily, they had given me a paper that told me that I should call someone if I had pain in my calf. Now, of course, I was in my early 30s at the time and probably had maybe a different outlook on health problems. That's a whole other issue for another day. Didn't really panic about it, but then once people started shuttling me around in a wheelchair, I realized this was a serious deal, and I did end up getting hospitalized because a deep vein thrombosis, as you may know, can lead to a pulmonary embolism where a piece of the clot breaks off and goes into your lungs because that's the pathway for returning blood to your heart. So I landed in the UK a couple weeks ago, almost 2 weeks ago. And a few days later, I started experiencing quite a bit of pain in my calf. Interestingly, I only noticed it because I squatted down to do something, and I felt like, ooh, that feels tender. And then I was like, I've just moved and packed up a bunch of boxes, and I'm like, surely I just banged into something, right? Um, and so I just thought it was a bruise and didn't really think anything of it until it started to get worse. And I kept looking out for a dark red um, like showing up in a red, really inflamed, and it just didn't happen. So I went to one doctor and got it checked out, and they thought it was probably maybe an infection or just a bruise or something else because there wasn't really anything visible. But I was very, very sensitive to the touch. A couple days later, I went again. It still really wasn't red. But what I was feeling is like this kind of hard nodule under my skin. And it could have easily been like a knot in my muscle, to be honest, because it was kind of right in the belly of the muscle in my calf. But what I notice now that the swelling has gone down a bit is it kind of formed like almost like a cord under my skin. Like you could feel like it's a hard rope. So anyway, long story short, I did because I have a genetic mutation that I only know about from 23andMe, but that got confirmed by a hematologist over the summer, which makes me predisposed to blood clots. And because blood clots can be very dangerous, I really pursued it. Um, Ended up seeing an emergency care clinic, and they confirmed it was a rather long blood clot, thankfully in the superficial vein. So, kind of the very end of the veins as they go into the muscle tissue. So, not as dangerous. I am now on blood thinners. Um, but one of the things that I learned from the doctor, and again, this is not medical advice, I'm sharing my experience, was that the compression stockings that I wear to fly, the socks I wear to fly on long flights, were probably too tight. And that in doing so, it pressed on the vein, and that can lead to clotting in the superficial vein. So these were all just learnings I thought were really important to share because, especially as a woman in perimenopause, I find that there are just like weird health symptoms that pop up all the time now, and I'm never quite certain when to act on them. In this case, I guess intuitively like knew that there shouldn't be so much pain to the touch, and I felt very um, concerned. And I'm really glad that I pushed through and got someone to take a look at it. And it's definitely really easy to kind of travel and land somewhere and just kind of go about your day and not pay attention to things like this. If it had been a deep vein thrombosis, I think the pain would have been probably more. I don't know. Um, but yeah, I just think it's important that we listen to our own intuition and that, the more that we spend time getting to know our bodies and being connected to our bodies, the more we can tell when something is a little bit off. And in some ways, that's frustrating when you're going through perimenopause because weird stuff happens all the time, and, and you're like, this is different. When do I know if different means a problem? And and it can be really just, I guess, intimidating. And I wanted to share that as well. I mean, if you're out there and you're having that experience of like today I have ringing in my ears, like yesterday I had weird electrical shocks down my arms, and you know, my moods are all over the place, and frozen shoulders and things like that. I mean, there's dozens of symptoms that are tied to perimenopause, and I think that there's really a challenge to trying to navigate this period, to not get disheartened that like, okay, now every day I'm gonna feel like crap. I think that's hard. And I also wanted to take a moment to just sort of name and acknowledge that, and encourage you to to not accept the world's narrative that this has to be a time of stepping back, or that there's sort of a paranoia that isn't valid. I think that it's important we honor and acknowledge in each other the fact that this is a difficult time to navigate. The body is going through changes and it is going to feel different. And that does not make you an alarmist or, um, you know, overly anxious or whatever. Everyone's experience of perimenopause is going to be different. Um, and so you can't expect to feel the same as other people who may go through it and feel nothing. Um, so yeah, that's just my encouragement to you, is to really know your body and heed the warning signs. And I just hope that you have a wonderful weekend. I look forward to talking to you next week.